this thing on. So, I've been getting some questions in the past from people that ask me how I take my studio portraits and how I edit them, so I decided today I'm going to make a tutorial for you guys to show you how I shoot the photos and also edit them to get that little like seamless background thing. So I like taking studio portraits because I feel like I have a lot more like creative freedom, and it's basically like kind of like a blank canvas. You can really you can play with the colors however you want. You can have different colored backdrops, you can have props, different lighting. It's really like a blank canvas where you can do whatever you want. One other bonus to shooting studio portraits is that you can shoot them inside. So, you know, if it's like raining outside or if the sun goes down, you don't have to worry about all that light, and plus like we're in quarantine, so we're stuck inside anyways, right? So we can shoot inside and it still works. So first thing you're gonna need, backdrop. You can get these from Amazon, B&H. I get mine from a local camera store nearby. You can also use like a white bed sheet. I used the white bed sheet when I first started out shooting. Anything that can just be hung onto like the backdrop holder, and I'll be talking about that next. Another thing you're gonna need is a backdrop stand, obviously to hold your backdrops. You can get these off of Amazon as well. I got mine from a friend. He was gracious enough to let me use his dad's equipment that he wasn't using anymore. These run pretty cheap. They're not too expensive, and like if you take care of them, like they'll last a long time. Lighting is going to be really important for you to get the correct look that you want. You know, you can get away with like a softbox. You know, that's what I personally use. I use a softbox and an off-camera flash. I've shot with an aperture light dome before, but those get like really expensive, like up to like the $600, $7 range. But you can get like a cheap light box from Amazon for like what, 35 bucks. And then I have an off-camera flash, but you can honestly just get away with using the softbox too. It really just depends on the look that you want. But for lighting to be more even, when you shoot indoors especially, you want that softbox, and what I do is I bounce off a flash off of the ceiling, and then it kind of fills in the rest of the light that the softbox isn't hitting. And then obviously you're gonna need your camera to shoot with. Honestly, like you can shoot with your phone too. It really doesn't matter. Like the whole point is to just start shooting. Like that's what you really want to emphasize. It doesn't matter what camera you have. It doesn't matter if you have like your old family's DSLR, like just start shooting. That's so important. Whatever you have, use it. Oh, and additionally too, if you have any props and stuff you want to use, like go ahead and use that, but you don't have to. Now we're in Photoshop. Once I finish color correcting my photos in Lightroom, that's the program that I use, I'll import my photo into Photoshop, and then if you haven't already cropped it, you can crop it in Photoshop. So to do that, I'll hit C to hit crop, and then I'll just crop it to however like way I like it, drag it up a little bit like this. Set it up, and that's it. This photo is a little bit more complicated to create a seamless background effect, but the concepts are still the same. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna hit the patch tool right here, J. If it's selected on something else, you can just right click this and then hit this, and then you're gonna select a part of the photo that you basically want to turn into backdrop. So let's say I want this corner right here, right? I'll select this, I'll go to edit, I'll go to fill, I'll make sure this says content aware, because what that's doing is that's pulling information from around wherever I just selected, and then it's going to essentially sample from it. So I'll hit OK, and then let Photoshop do its thing. And you can see here, it's not perfect. It grabbed like her leg, but it pulled more of the pink out from here. All right. So essentially what you're doing, you're just going to rinse and repeat this until it looks like how you want. So I'll get this top part up here. I'll zoom in using Alt. All right, I'll make a selection again. All right, once I selected that, I'll go to edit, fill. The shortcut for this is Shift F5. If you're on Mac, I think it's like Command F5 or something. So you go fill, make sure it says content aware, leave all this stuff like how it is, and then hit OK. And then Photoshop do its thing again. And see how it's not perfect? It didn't sample right away. What you can do, you can click on this, and then you can drag it down more so that it will select from this portion of the image, and then yeah. Now, it's looking pretty rough, right? That's fine, because I'm going to show you guys how to fix that later. So, again, we'll just pull from up here. This time we'll hit Shift F5 to use a shortcut. We'll hit OK. And then we'll pull down because it didn't sample it perfectly. And there. So it's a little bit better this time, right? We still have this leg here in the way, but we can get rid of that easily. So we'll select this again, Shift F5, content aware, hit OK. And it's a little bit better. So I'll fast forward and I'll do most of this. All right. So I'll show you guys how to do the top layer. I'm not going to show you guys how to do the bottom one because for this specific photo is a little bit more complicated, but the concepts are still the same, and this is going to work on most backdrops if you set it up correctly. So Generally, I recommend keeping your subject within your backdrop. So within this little square right here, you usually want to keep them in that square, because once they go out of that, you're going to run into problems where you need to fill in the background where, like, let's say outside of this balloon, that's going to be a lot, you're going to have a lot of a harder time filling that in. So for the most part, that's fine. But now we want to clean up this top part, right? Because you can see where the content aware, it didn't exactly like pull it cleanly. So you can tell like there's like wrinkles in the paper and stuff. So what I do, I'll grab the healing brush, right? So right click here, healing brush, right? And then make my brush a little bit bigger, hardness 25, it doesn't really matter. I'll hold Alt, and then I'll sample an area. So now I have this sampled, right? I'll just single click, not holding. I'll brush over the spots that it doesn't look super clear. So I messed up a little bit right there. You can always hit Control Z. So I'll brush over the spots that essentially have the wrinkles in the paper, or it doesn't look like how I want it to be. See, if you go too much here, it doesn't work. So what you can do, hit Control Z, right? I'll go back here. I'll go back to my patch tool. I'll content aware this out again, because it's not always perfect. Pull this down. All right. I'll go to my healing brush tool right here again. Hold Alt, sample, and then I'll just go up here and I'll just clean up the spots where I don't want the paper to be showing. Right. Yeah. So that's more or less how you get that full background effect. This is a little bit more complicated because I had to use 2 pieces of backdrop paper for this, and then these balloons I had to stamp them out, but that's more or less how you do it. So let me show you guys on a different photo. So I'll hit C, and then I'll crop this down just so that it fits the frame better. All right. And for the most part, like it's already like, it already looks like it's the background is filled in, right? And what you could do is that you could just crop these in so that it looks like it fills the background, but what happens when that doesn't fit Instagram, or you want more of the background to show, right? So what you can do is you can content aware. So let me crop this back really quick. All right. So what happens when you want more background, but you can't, you just physically can't, like this background wasn't wide enough. We can just content aware. So what you're basically gonna do is you're gonna click and drag, and you're gonna select the area of the photo that you want to be backdrop. So once you select that, you're gonna go to edit, fill, and then make sure right here you set it to content aware, and you leave all this stuff normal, right? Hit OK, Photoshop do its thing, and there you have it. It fills in that space with backdrop. And it's not always perfect, like you can see up here. It didn't get this little spot. What you can do, you can just essentially drag that area again. Make sure you're on content aware or patch tool right here. Go to edit, go to fill, and make sure this says content aware right here, and then hit OK. And then it should do its thing again. And it's still not perfect, right? While this is still selected, you can left click and drag, and you can still pull this out into here, and it'll sample from this area instead. Easy, right? And we'll do the same thing here. Click and drag, go around this area. It doesn't have to be too perfect. We can always fix that later, all right? Complete it. You can go to edit, fill, but the shortcut here is Shift F5. This will speed up your productivity a lot. I think for Mac it's like Command F5 or something. So I'll hit Shift F5, right? Content aware, hit OK, let it do its thing. All right, and you see how the shade of pink up here, it's not exactly the other shade of pink. I'll show you to fix that. And again, right here, this little spot, it wasn't perfect. It sampled like the bottom of this little fabric here. So I'll go over that specific spot. I'll hit Shift F5, hit content aware, boom, fixes it, easy, right? So what do you do when this shade of pink is not like the rest of the photo? Like you want it to match, right? Because it's not seamless if it doesn't all look the same. So what we can do here, we can go to the healing brush tool. After we did our content aware and patched everything up, we'll go to healing brush here. We'll sample an area where we want the color to match. So we hold down Alt and then we left click. All right. So now we have this sample of where we want to color in at. So I'll do another sample here. All right. And all you have to do is just click away. You don't have to hold click, just left click, and then you'll fill this uneven shade of pink in. All right, just keep going over it. And then it'll kind of, what it's doing is it's just blending in the colors nearby with whatever you sampled it from. We go down here, do it a little bit more down here, right? We zoom out. You can still see it down here. All right, so just keep going around. Keep going around. You can zoom in and get closer into the details. All right. And this is really useful for when your background, there isn't enough even light, or the background gets cut off, or you need to balance the light a bit more, like make it blend a little bit more. This is really useful for that. And this is how you get that full room effect. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know if you guys have any questions or if you need help on anything. I didn't show you guys how to color grade because that's a whole, there's a ton of videos on YouTube where you guys can search that up. This is just to show you guys how to do that full background seamless effect for backdrops. But yeah, thanks for watching.